Hi, everybody. Michelle D'Amber here with Josephine again, and we are going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about some of the popular diets right now that people are seeing on social media and such, and why they can be an issue if you don't know your oxidation rate. So here's Josephine, and maybe we'll talk about something like keto first, because that seems
that would be good, actually. And you're right on about nice seeing you again, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so I mean, the diets, like you said, I noticed that too. There's many diets, like, so we're picking a few of them. But even if we don't know our oxidation rate, and we get into a diet like carnivore or even keto, and we're slow.
Yes.
That's going to be a big problem. There's way too much fat. Even with the Weston A. Price Foundation, it's the same thing. Diet is fantastic. There's so many good things. But if you're a slow ox and you're eating fat as much as they say to eat it it's a problem.
You might lose weight. And that's, that's the appeal. Let's face it, we all want to look good, I admit I struggle with that stuff. Yeah. However, knowing what I know about the diets and the issues that they can be, I rather do it the right way. So as Josephine mentioned, if you're a slow oxidizer and you're on one of those diets, you're going to get very constipated. Your kidneys are going to struggle. Your liver is going to struggle because you're moving way too slow, and the meat and the fat slows down the system. You need to have a lot more vegetables in your diet. So that's the issue with that. If you don't know your oxidation, you go on this diet and you start losing weight, 2-3 months down the road, you're going to start having lower back pain, because it's your kidneys, your liver is going to bother you, and you're probably going to be constipated.
Yeah, and you may not feel it right away. It could take more than a month. It could take even a year before you start feeling it. It's, I had a few years back, I had a guy in Vancouver that used to deliver wheatgrass, and he used to grow it. And then he became very big. He sold it to all the health food stores, Whole Food, everything. And next thing I know, he used to come to my house at the beginning to drop it off. And a few years later, I found out that he passed away. This guy was a vegan, complete vegan. Okay, no meat, nothing, doing yoga, the whole 9 yards. And he ended up with cancer of the tongue, of all things. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's only got to do with the fact that he was a vegan, because that might have been also a problem, having cancer, because the problem with veganism is most people who are vegan, they look great, and he did. He looked great, this guy. You would have never thought that he would have, get cancer. But they just leave like that. Boom, they go away like this. And in this case, it could have been also the wheatgrass, because you got to be very careful in the way you grow wheatgrass. There can't be any mold. So I don't drink wheatgrass anymore since that happened, because his wheatgrass was a little moldy, but he was very much into that vegan. He was and I was into it too, because I got into that raw diet. And
I've done it too. Yeah, I've done all these diets.
That's right. So I felt fantastic at the beginning, but then I started going downhill. But I think that could be with every diet, that if you continue, the body needs change. It's like our lifestyle. When I moved to come and look after my mom for a little while, my whole pattern changed from something else. So if you're in a rut, even with a diet, it could cause problems.
Oh, anything, life, but yeah, I did the same thing. I was on it. I felt great. You feel great in the beginning because it's very high in copper, and copper is stimulating. So you're going to feel like, oh, I feel great. And we know that copper, is a little bit more volatile, and people tend to be more into spiritual things too. So you're going to see a lot of people who are talking about spirituality who are also vegan or vegetarian. It's very interesting when you understand the minerals and how they are in the body, and what roles they play in our moods and our how we look at life and how we deal with life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's getting in a program where you can detox. There's so much to detox about, but really, when it comes down to the diet, like you said, I mean, the food is not perfect anymore, and that hasn't been perfect for quite a long time. Even if you buy organic, it's not the same. They're spraying everywhere. They're not just spraying the pesticide with the trucks anymore. They're doing it with the airplanes. And so we're breeding all kinds of different things. So you know what? There's not going to be anything perfect out there, really, to look for. But the less we eat junk food, that's the best. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
It is really
staying away from sugar. There is zero purpose for sugar. Nothing. There's no nutritional value. There is nothing. It feeds candida and it feeds cancer. So anybody eating sugar, you're just pouring gasoline into your body. It's just not good at all. So,
I agree. Absolutely.
Getting off of that is going to be a major thing. And then anybody who's eating fast food, not eating vegetables, if you're constipated, you need vegetables and water.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
And the people with a blood sugar problem also, we got a lot of clients who come to us and tell us that they feel they have a headache at one point, and a lot of it has to do with the detox, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not drinking enough water. Their blood sugar goes down during the day, right? Because they forget they eat certain food or not enough food. The blood sugar is so important. Because I'm starting, when I was at home, even in Vancouver, I'm not starting now, but when I was in Vancouver, and when I go there, I do my blood sugar more often. Over here, my mom's got the machine, but I don't think about it. But when I do, if I get a headache, it's either I need a coffee enema or my blood sugar's down. That's it. If because of the liver. But I think if people could drink a little bit more water, because 3 quarts, sometimes people say they drink 3 quarts, but do we really?
I know people who don't drink, but maybe a glass of water a day. And I would literally just die if that's all I drank in water. So here's issues with, people not understanding the body chemistry too. When you're in fight or flight and your cortisol is high, cortisol raises sugar, and sugar will make you go to the bathroom more, urinate more, and then you're going to be dehydrated. So there's like a thing that's happening. It's not just, you need to drink more water. If you're stressed, you need even more water. If you are a sensitive person who's empathic and picks up on other people's energies like I do, that will dehydrate you. So, if you're into taking care of people, a nurse, a doctor, and any kind of healthcare or whatever, you're probably going to need more water because people were energetic. And so some people tend to take our energy and that will make you dehydrated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's getting used to and remembering that you're thirsty, because what, we're so used to not drinking water, honestly.
Well, by the time we're thirsty,
we're talking about it and we're used to it.
I know. Well, by the time, the thing is too, is us having this discussion, it's going to dehydrate because it's using energy. So if you're somebody who's doing video calls, you're on the phone all the time, all the more you're going to need more water, because again, it's that exchange of energy, and it's also the stress, which will have this triggering of the cortisol and
exactly. I mean, that's all stuff that is not easy to always have control of, because it's an automatic reaction that we have, and it's all coming from our childhood as well, so it's how we react to certain events and certain situations that we got to relearn everything.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like the brain. One thing about this also that is good when you're eating the right food, and it's true that the brain does heal itself. You know, you do expand and you do see things differently. And doesn't mean that it's always for the best, but you open your eyes to different things. I noticed that with my clients, just by changing their lifestyle. Even if, right, we talked about that, even if they only change their lifestyle, already they're feeling a little better because they're used to going to bed at midnight, let's say. Right.
Yep.
And they're used to eating late, let's say around 10 o'clock at night. And then all of a sudden that is all turned around. They have
or not eating breakfast, you know.
Yes.
A lot of bad habits. You know, 15 years ago, I finally just cut out certain things because I've had insomnia my entire life. I mean, so far back, it's not even funny. So over the years, I had to clean up and I'd read all these articles on sleep hygiene. You know, in the beginning, it was hard to do. When you are in a faster oxidation, we tend to have more ego. So we might learn something, but we'll kind of dismiss it because the ego gets in the way and justifies other things. So when you go into a slower oxidation, you start to kind of wake up a little bit spiritually, and you look at these things and go, okay, I got to stop these patterns. So I haven't had a TV in my bedroom in over a decade. You know, I don't watch the news. I dim the lights at night. There's no bright lights. I make sure there's a blue light filter on all electronics. I try not to answer any emails or anything like that after a certain time. I stop working at a certain time, even if I have, you know, I always have a lot of work to do. When you're a business owner, you can work 7 days a week. But I set up these things, and I even put a do not disturb on my phone, you know, for certain hours so that I don't feel compelled to look at my phone when it goes off. I shut off all the alarms on my emails. I have 10 email accounts. I get no notifications on most of them. You know, these are like things that I've learned, and then a bed schedule, a bedtime and a wake up schedule. I only vary it, you know, maybe an hour. So I try to go to bed between 10 and 11, and I wake up between 7 and 8, you know, and I try not to go off of that schedule. That is super important to stay on a routine, you know, even the weekend.
That's right. That's really good, because like the liver really needs the earlier we go to bed, the better it is for the liver to detoxify. The later we go, and the harder it is for the liver to detoxify. And it's not good for the adrenaline glands. It's not good for the thyroid. It's not good for the digestive system, especially, you know, most people have a digestive system issue, unless you're a fast oxidizers seem to have less problems than, like you said, the slow oxidizer. But that is so important to know which diet to be on, and if you should eat more fat or less fat. And the only way to really find out the best way, it's not the only way, but the best way is through a hair mineral analysis.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, then we'll see. That's where you can see if you're a fast, mixed, or slow oxidizer, and adjust your diet accordingly. Hair mineral analysis shows more things than I've ever seen on any test. And I've spent thousands of dollars, and I've had all kinds of tests done over the years. And hair mineral analysis, if I would have found that 20 years ago, probably would have helped. Although I probably had too much ego and would have not adhered to it.
That's right. That's what happened to me. I was in my 30s when I ended up finding out about it, right? And but I wanted to stay on that vegan diet. I was just starting with Ann Whitmore, and I thought, oh God, and Dr. Eck was recommending meat at the time, right? Because I was very cautionary, and I'm thinking, oh no, if I eat meat, I'm done. I'll never be able to go to the bathroom. And quite honestly, even though as a vegan or raw diet, I ended up doing my colonics on a daily basis because I still wasn't going to the bathroom, right? It still was. So I had that illusion, though, that I was getting better. But, you know, I ended up shaving all my hair.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I went bald at one point because I was losing all my hair. Oh, my God. Yeah, I have no idea.
Copper.
I was losing, lots of copper. And And that was a big problem, because it's like, but I didn't equate it to what I was doing with the diet, because, you know, we don't know everything. In those days, we had the books, we could go to the library. Now it's a bit easier because we can just sit at home and do all our little research from the computer. Although now with Google, the way it is, you're not really finding the truth on Google anymore. So there's certain things you could be asking, and it's not going to come up. They show you what they want to show you.
Right.
So we kind of have to go back now to the library where we started off, in order to re-educate for those who want to educate themselves. They cannot rely on the computer or on Google or on any of that, because it's not telling us the truth anymore. Unless they know who they're going after. So you're looking for somebody that you specifically know, then that's a different matter. But if you don't, and you're just starting out, it could be a real problem for these people.
Yeah, you have to almost dig. I noticed that probably 5 years ago that things started to change, because I'm always researching things on the internet.
Right.
And I was like, this is interesting. I'm having to like really dig through, you know, pages to get to articles that I thought were because they're suppressing more natural, and you know, you'll see the, you know, the more of the approved, you know, NC, what is that? I forget what it's called. There's certain websites that come up that are related to, you know, Western medicine and FDA, you know, anything that has to, that's government regulated, those are going to be at the top. Well, most of the people that are looking this stuff up, they don't want that. You know, that's why they're seeking out help from people like us who've been through a lot, because, you know, we've learned, you know, through mistakes.
That's right. You know, the first year before I started the hair mineral analysis, and I was looking after I was during my FDN certificate, and I started to do the research, everything was coming up on the page. You were able to find many people that were doing the hair mineral analysis, that like Dr. Eck, and then others like him, and it was easy to find them. Now it's not as easy. You could put hair mineral analysis. I know from where I'm sitting in Canada, it makes it even more impossible. Because they're even more censoring everything. They're censoring quite a lot now, even with the medical and all of that. So it makes me think that, I may have to go back again in the library, which I love doing anyways. It's not, at least that makes you go out, makes you meet people. And the old way of doing things, like I think it's gonna have to go back to that, because all the new stuff, the technology and stuff that we ended up acquiring, we're finding out that it's not as good as we thought. It is good because we look at what we're doing, you and I together now, right? That's a lot of, and the people we meet as well. We meet a lot of great people that we couldn't meet otherwise.
And any books that you can find. Just yesterday, I was thinking, gosh, I should have not given away a book that I had when I moved. You know, it was big and I was trying to, you know, get rid of some books. I actually have a little medical book from my grandmother, who was a nurse, from the 1950s. And in it, they talk about parasites and castor oil and ways to rid yourself of parasites. That was in a medical book. You can't get a doctor to like actually tell you to do something like that nowadays.
Jamais,
no,
never.
No,
that would never happen.
We all have parasites. I got
That's right.
Anybody who has digestion problems, bloating, gas, emotional problems, you know, all these things are related to, you know, even the mind racing. They're related to unhealthy organisms in the body. So, you know, if you've got animals, I've got 3 of them. I'm constantly having to work on that, because there's no way with me kissing them, you know, on the face, that I'm not picking something up.
That's right. Know? Absolutely. That's it. Exactly. And that's why it's important to do the detox and what you're doing right now because of that. But, you know, none of us can escape it. The minute the body becomes strong, then they look for another host.
Exactly.
But,
so that's the important thing, is to make sure that you as a host is constantly eating properly, washing your food properly, detoxing, once the body's cold and you're not moving and you're not eating properly, or you're eating sugar and things like that, that's when you become a more desirable host.
Right. So those diets that you mentioned is, it's not that they're bad or anything. Like you said, if we do it on a short term, it's fine.
Right.
Short term, whatever it is, short term is okay. If it's not things like going on a fast on, if we go on a fast that is, let's say, on chips, but I mean, keto has a lot of good things, but I noticed that people that go on keto, they start looking very, very thin at one point. Huh? We talked about that, remember?
Yep. I know someone who's very popular who did keto, and in the beginning, started looking better. And now I'm like, wow, you can see, because, in traditional Chinese medicine, like the dark circles on the eyes, that's, kidney.
Liver.
And liver, you can see certain things in the face, and then, wrinkly and gaunt, and it's just not healthy. It's not. Anything long-term is just not healthy if you're not in the middle, And we were even talking, we had a discussion about, you have winter and summertime. I love traditional Chinese medicine because they really, it's very interesting how they do seasons and stuff like that. So right now, a lot of my clients are emailing me that their liver's bothering them. Well, that's because it's springtime and the liver is dumping from the wintertime. If you were under stress and you were running around and you weren't sleeping properly during the wintertime, your liver's going to have a harder time dumping.
That's right. Exactly.
That's just the way it is. You're going to be struggling more.
It's part and partial. The thing with the liver, it never tells us when it's sick. It doesn't give you a warning. It loves you so much that it gives you no warning. It's like it's so merciful. It's unbelievable, that organ, how it is. But I know some people, like a girlfriend of mine that I used to work with when I in my late teens. She passed away at 54, 55.
Oh, wow, that's my age.
Right. And she had a hard time. Oh, wow. But you're good. But she had a hard time swallowing, and she went to the doctor, couldn't find out what was wrong with her. She goes back a few months later because she was getting worse. Finally, they did a checkup. They never do checkups, whether you're in Canada or in the US. The US, they have the excuse because of the insurance, and over here it's the government. So, but it all boils down to the same thing. They still don't like to give you any tests because it costs too much money. But this poor woman, she finds out once she receives the test that she only had 1 week to live, and that she had the cancer of the liver.
Oh, the liver.
Yeah, of the liver.
And she had swallowing problems.
That's right. So when I hear people now that have swallowing problems, it's like my antennas go up right away. And she was studying to become a nurse. She had retired from the work that she was doing, but what she was doing is every night, I found out from her partner that she was living with. He told me that she used to work at night downstairs in her basement to do her exam. And she was doing that for the last probably almost a year. At night, like working nighttime, dim the lights. There was no lights almost in the basement. And that means that she wasn't going to bed early. Okay. Very bad for the liver because it doesn't have time to detox at all. So she wasn't, and this happened to her. And he told me he was shocked because he was eating meat. He says, I don't understand. I'm the one who should have died. I'm eating meat. I drink my beer every night. I'm thinking that. But she was more sensitive, and also she was Italian, this girl.
Well, and stress, I believe that stress is the #1 killer. I mean, that was my thing, is I took care of myself. I've been eating healthy for 20 years. I started incorporating a lot, but I had too much stress in my life. Even now I still have to manage it because I tend to be kind of a type A overachiever. So running a business, my mind's always like, I got all these ideas, Josephine, I got all these ideas, like, let's start a YouTube channel. I get excited, but my body can't handle it. So when I tell people I'm busy, part of that busyness is me resting. I'm too busy because I'm busy doing self-care too.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. It's hard for some people to understand, but you know what? It takes effort to relax when you're a type A, especially.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a job. It's almost
I have
like
to literally scold myself. I did that. I told you before we started this, I did that last night. My head was like, I'm learning. I got to change my way. I do everything myself. So I looked at the clock and I was like, no. And the dogs are great. It's great having animals because they look up at me like, Mom, you've been working all day. It's time for us to go on the couch. They literally tell me when to stop work and when to go to bed. They're a complete blessing. They'll just look at me like, okay, it's getting late. It's night time. So I look at them and I'm like, you're right. I'm going to shut it down. Mommy's done working and I eat my healthy meal and I sit down, I relax and try and get off my phone and not respond to people. Because I get emails about all kinds of stuff all the time.
Yeah, those are all stuff.
Not respond.
That's it, Michelle. You're so right. Because those are all the stuff that people need to take heed and realize that at one point that their lifestyle is causing them problems.
Yeah,
it's not always certainly food is a big major thing, but the lifestyle, you could be eating really good and eating 9 cups of vegetables but your lifestyle is the pits. You're still going
so
to
can you
bed
imagine
late.
somebody with a bad lifestyle? They're not drinking enough water. They're not eating properly. So they've got anxiety, they've got constipation, they've got, they're just wired and tired and all these problems, but they're stimulating themselves. And one of the things that we both know about copper is copper helps with the brain. So anybody who's using their brain often is not going to be able to let go of copper, because you're needing it to stimulate the brain to keep up with the working, the thinking and doing and things like that. So you literally have to train yourself to shut down and just shut it off, because you won't be able to let go of the copper, because the copper's like, you need me. Exactly. It's like looking at you like, you need me, so I'm going to stay here because you're coming to me for your energy.
That's it. Exactly. Isn't that the way it is too?
Yeah, it is.
It really is. The solution to this is to learn to relax. Some people, they do it through meditation. There's many ways of doing them, different meditation. For me, I do my rosary.
I stretch at night.
Exactly.
I roll on a foam roller. I stretch. I do deep breathing, and I can go from feeling stressed out to completely relaxed. And I have this app on my phone that I can put my finger behind, and it'll tell me my energy level, my stress, and my focus. And last night I took it when I finished work at 6, and then after an hour when I ate, stretched, whatever, and all my numbers went like up, that I actually had more energy, focus. So it's very fascinating to see that, and it helps me gauge, okay, I'm too stressed, I need to stop. So I do pay attention to that.
Yeah, because we're not in tune all the time with ourselves, because we're so used to going like a bunny rabbit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hair patterns will make you, not aware. So I know, because I've had a calcium shell, that I know that pattern is lack of awareness and lack of being in touch with my emotions. Because I know that on an intellectual level, I have to check in and say, okay, I can't believe that I feel good. I'm going to do a hair test. And, I'll email you and think, oh, I'm feeling good, but then I do the hair test, and the hair test is going to be like, you're lying. No.
That's right.
Or
it's
it
amazing,
might be true,
yes.
But that's how I look at, because I know that I'm not aware, because
it's
of
the
this
same
pattern.
thing. with sometimes you got the client who calls who says, I'm really feeling not good at all. And then we get the test back and the test looks like fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the opposite. You know, in the interpretation report from the lab, they talk about that at the beginning of their, where how come I feel lousy, but the test shows that I'm feeling better, or vice versa, and stuff like this. So because of the biochemistry changing, you know, this tells you, it's amazing how we were created, you know, how every little detail was created by our creator. Amazing to me. And so whatever diet people go on, if they can just realize that with a hair mineral analysis, they're going to really find out more about themselves. They're going to be more prone in knowing that if they need more fat or less fat, more carbs or less carbs.
Right.
And they'll know also about their blood sugar. They'll know about their thyroid. They're going to know about their liver. They're going to know about their
digestion. Yep.
Immune
and their
system.
Everything, adrenals and thyroid activity. There's people we know that have high copper and they have a 4 high pattern and they're working out too much. But we know underneath all that, they're probably sympathetic dominant and very tired. So, you know, a hair test will be able to tell you, no, you're in a stress pattern. You actually don't have enough energy to be working out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And many are like that, by the way, right?
Yeah.
I just received the hair test of this client where she is a 4 high and a very high copper, and she's completely burned out. Okay. But she doesn't know it because the body is not telling her that. It's telling her the opposite. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
another lack of awareness pattern.
That's right. And it's hard for people to really even believe in the hair mineral analysis when you think you got all that energy, which is all fake.
Yeah,
right.
It is. Well, we've seen, because we watch them, you know, start working, you know, taking supplements, eating properly, and then their hair test is completely different. So I usually share with my clients, this isn't the reality. We need to strip away all these things that you're doing that are creating these stress patterns to see what you were. So by the 4 or 5 months, we can see that people are really very depleted and tired. And either they'll stick to the program or they'll leave because it's depressing. I had a hard time with that. It's very depressing to go from, you know, high functioning to tired, but I also was able to learn, you know, more things about myself. And I think those are the most important things. It's not just the diet, it's really making changes like to your sleep pattern, your relationships, working too hard, you know, things like that.
That's right.
Are going to really help anyone long term.
I think people, what we need, and that's all for you and me as well, is we have to set our priorities right. Once we do that, and that's in every aspect of our lives, you know, it's not just one thing, it's everything.
Yeah.
So once we set our priorities right, then things start to fall. You know, they don't fall apart, but they fall, they get better.
They fall
it's like
apart
a puzzle.
To build back up.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
it's like
to build back
like
better.
House. Yeah, I tell people it's like a house. If you don't fix the foundation, whatever you do to the house, if that foundation is cracked and you don't fix it, I don't care how good it looks, you know, whatever you did inside of it, it's going to fall apart because your foundation, you know, isn't worked on. So
that's it.
That's kind of some of the things we wanted to talk about the diets. I know they can be very intriguing. You know, it's really tough. You know, we all want to be wearing swimsuits and looking good, but if you're not feeling good and you're having to like lose your gallbladder and stuff like that, there's a problem. There's a problem with the lifestyle, with the stress, you know, things like that. We should not have to take out body parts like that. That can totally be prevented through diet and through stress. And I don't even want to say stress management. We shouldn't be managing stress. We should work managing our life so that we are not having to manage stress.
Exactly. That's really a good point, Michelle. Absolutely. Because managing stress is really it doesn't make sense.
Trying to do everything.
Way around.
I used to say I'm going to be balanced, so I'm going to do everything. But I was stressing myself out because I was still trying to do everything, you know, and making our health number one for me as a priority, because I personally don't want to be going to the doctors and taking medications. I don't, it's just not something I see older people doing that. And I don't want to. They never have answers. They keep giving you more medications. Those medications cause problems. And then they have a list. I'd rather take 10 supplements than 10 medications.
I agree. Me too, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm hoping and praying that the medication won't be something that we will need, neither one of us or anybody for that matter. Yeah. But you know, once you start, that's it, right? It's like anything else. They get you with the blood pressure, then they get you on the diabetes, the metformins, and oh my goodness. It's
and like all that is manageable through working on lifestyle, stress, and diet.
That's right. That's it. Basically, that's what it's all about. And hopefully, if there's anybody that has questions or anything like that, they should put it in the comment below.
Reach out to us.
That's right. And please like the video and subscribe to Michelle's YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and a thumbs up.
Please help me grow this channel. I want to be able to reach out to people. You know, I'm 54 years old. And I want to be able to share with people a lot that I've learned. You know, I'm still learning. We always are learning. But I believe I have a lot of knowledge here. I know Josephine has a lot of knowledge that we want to share with you all. So please subscribe, leave some comments, and ask us any questions. Reach out to either one of us if you want a hair test and want to start getting healthier.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you, Josephine.
I'm looking forward to next week. We'll have a different topic.
Yes, give us some ideas. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.